Hello everyone, I am Mallika from UNITA International University, and today I'd like to talk to you about some issues and challenges that teachers and educators might be going through during this time of this pandemic time, this time of movement control order. Having been a school teacher myself for many years, perhaps I can identify with some of the challenges that you may be going through this time. But let's take a step back and think about April 2019. What were we doing at this time last year? Now, chances are that some of us, teachers and educators, may have been busy preparing lessons for our students, maybe creating resources, marking or grading student exercises, training our students for competitions, preparing department reports, those panitia reports that need to come in. Yes, all those things. And not any of us would have thought that at the same time, the following year, that is this year, that this would happen to us, that we will all be inside closed walls now, inside, isolated from each other. And while all around us, this pandemic goes on. And till now, there is no really known cure for this virus. But yet, here we are. Here we are, teachers, both teachers, non-teachers, together with the whole world. Here we are. And the truth is that none of us were prepared for this. Right. So maybe I'm just thinking here, maybe during the first few weeks of the movement control order, maybe you were thinking that, like me, maybe I also had that same kind of thought, that maybe, it's going to be for 2 weeks, we'll manage, we'll get by, we'll try to contact our students, give them handouts, etc. And after 2 weeks, things will slowly get back to order. We'll get back to the way it is now, and things will go back to normal teaching as the way it is. But then it didn't. After 2 weeks, it was extended. And now it's extended even further. And so slowly there was a kind of slow alarm, slow anxiety that crept into the minds of educators all over, school teachers and principals and heads of institutions alike. How were we going to finish that syllabus? How were we going to get our students prepared on time? How were we going to ensure that the curriculum is adhered to? These were questions at the back of our minds. What's going to happen next? And then there was another kind of anxiety that crept again into the hearts probably of many teachers, or significant number of teachers. It is this move into online or virtual teaching, this online platform, this virtual platform. Now, as school teachers and lecturers in institutions and educators everywhere, I'm very sure that many of us have already integrated elements of online teaching into our normal practices. We've done that from at one time or other, included those elements with ICT, etc. But now here we are, like asked to go into a plunge fully into online teaching, full plungely into the virtual mode, because simply there doesn't seem to be any other way to ensure that our students will continuing to be engaged, continuing to receive the form of education that we want them to. So there is no other choice. But again, that anxiety sets in because of unfamiliarity with how am I, probably some of us were thinking our skills are not so good. How are we going to go into this virtual landscape? How am I going to continue teaching my students from online when I myself am not very sure about this? But and then also many teachers, and not only teachers, generally there are many people who still believe that the physical classroom, nothing really beats the physical classroom, because there's so many things in the physical classroom that is so important. From the minute you walk in as a teacher, what you see the rows of desks of students in front of you. You get the non-verbal cues, then you know those little jokes that go around. You see the person at the back who's not paying attention, and then your persona, your teaching persona kicks in. There's a kind of performative mode in you, and you use your hands, you gesticulate, your voice rises and falls, and there's so many expressions on your face, and all these things you think is only possible in physical classroom. Same goes for the students, and for the teacher, you feel that the response that you get from your students actually fuels you even further. Your passion for that teaching, it drives you even further. So there are many teachers who still believe that nothing comes close to the physical classroom. And they're entitled to what they think, right? But right now, here we cannot have that physical classroom. So this is the situation we are in. So what do we do next? But looking back at our own educational landscape, I mean, if you belong to the baby boomers, X generation kind of teachers who probably either retired or going to retire, you will remember the time. There was a time, believe it or not, there was a time before the digital age when we had to do everything manually. When marks were calculated manually, we had this big, huge mark sheet which we had to fill in with pen, and then calculate their marks one by one. And you know how exam scripts were prepared on stencil papers. And you had this we had to type it on those typewriters with that pink correction fluid. So we lived at that time. I mean, we taught during that time. And then slowly the digital age came. We were all forced to move into learning how to be computer savvy, right? So some of us resisted, yes. But in the end, from that very first click, very first time you touched your mouse, and you felt a little bit anxious on how things moved on that computer screen, we learned, we developed, and we are here where we are now. But when we look back, yes, there was a time when it was just started, when it all just started. And even now, testimonies of teachers right now that I hear, my friends tell me, yes, in the beginning they were so anxious about going into online teaching, virtual teaching, and their children and grandchildren laughed at them in the beginning, but now they're impressed. They're impressed because they've come so far. Right? But having said that, I believe that the real challenge here would be with our own students. No doubt, even if the teachers are ready, even if we have our virtual platforms and everything, the challenges here would be our students. What if they are in places where there is no connectivity? What if they are in places where they have no Wi-Fi, no infrastructure? And no doubt you can give them the best, most sophisticated online resources. You can, really work hard at preparing all this for them. But what if they can't access it? So that is the real problem that we will need to think about. In fact, the whole education scene will have to think about when we return. We will return eventually, to make sure that these students who, because of all these reasons, are left behind, that they do not slip and fall away completely from the scene. So and the thing about this is, most of the students who face this, not most, maybe many of them who face this, are also those who come from the category who needs actually more teacher guidance and that extra amount of time. So it's a double kind of challenge here. Number one, they cannot access the resources that we have for them. Number two, these are the ones who need that extra time. So this will be a real challenge. This will be something that we've got to figure out when we come back, or even right now, begin preparing for that group of students. In fact, students in general. What are we going to do with everything that was not about people who were in a way left behind during this whole season, and we have to get them back on track, right? So moving on. So it's good to know that many school heads and also heads of institutions have allowed teachers the flexibility for asynchronous kind of learning. So in fact, I know of school heads who tell their teachers it's okay, do whatever, as long as you get the message across to the students. You can use, if you can't use Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams or Zoom, it's all right. Use your WhatsApp, use your Hangouts, use your Telegram, Instagram, whatever means, as long as as long as your students are engaged. And even if you cannot continue the curriculum, cannot continue the syllabus, it's all right. Ensure that your students are getting some form of education. And so that is good. The asynchronous way has been really good for a lot of students. So going back to virtual learning, right? So there are some firm believers in virtual learning, online learning, who believe that yes, this is the way of the future and there is no turning back. And definitely there are a lot of merits, a lot of good things, a lot of advantages with virtual learning. For instance, yes, it allows your students who can access it to be independent learners. It allows them to learn at their own pace. Course material is accessible. They can come back to it at any time. They can come and access it at any time they want, and they become autonomous learners. So there are very many good things with online virtual learning, and maybe there, in a way, there is no turning back from this platform. But like me, there are many who believe that a blend would be the best. Perhaps we cannot give up the physical classroom completely, and neither can we say that there is no merit in the virtual learning, because both have its sets of merits, and both are important for learning of the future. For learning for the future, you need both. You need a blend of both, right? So with virtual learning, yes, with online learning, as I mentioned before, there is so many things that learners can do, and you can point them. They become self-accessed learners. We become the facilitators, so they take charge of their own learning. They take control of their own learning, and teachers just point them in the same direction. But some of you may be thinking, that's what we even do in the physical classroom. It's true, yeah, right. So like physical classroom, there are some pointers. There are some points that still work in the virtual classroom. So I believe that if you're a good teacher, you remain a good teacher no matter what the platform is. And I believe that the heart, the passion, that inner strength of that teacher will pull through whatever situation. And even in situations where you feel that you lack, or you're lacking of the skill sets needed for this new mode or this new platform, that innate teacher in you will push you to upskill yourself, to learn up, and because you care for your students, and you want them not to miss out, and that will push you. I've seen that happening throughout my years of experience, how teachers remold themselves, have a paradigm shift, and they move and they grow, they develop together along with their students. So some things that perhaps that we may want to remember when talking about virtual learning or virtual learning classroom, and this is more for synchronous learning. Yeah, so if you are going to facilitate a synchronous learning, that's virtual live classrooms, remember the most important things, that at the either end, your end and your students' end, we are human. It's human, and the platform is just the medium. What is important is the human factor here. So just like in physical classrooms, it's important to be present on time, to be there in your class, to be on time, and if possible, log in a little bit earlier, where you can have a little chat with your students who are already there, and prepare your session. You know how long your session is going to be. Just like in your physical classroom, you prepare your session, and prepare to be engaged throughout. It's even more difficult for your students to remain engaged on this platform, because there they are looking at you or looking at each other. So you got to need to be prepared to be engaged, and let your personality come through. Be real. It is what you are, right? This is what you are. It's all right, even if you make a mistake or two and you stumble over a word or two. That's all right. It's okay. That's you. That you're real. But just like in physical classrooms, you need to set expectations. You need to set expectations. That is important. So at the beginning of the lesson, set your lesson objectives. Give them the house rules. Tell them about how they need to respect each other. Maybe put off the mic when one person is speaking, and give responses where necessary. Do a readiness check. Perhaps before you begin your lesson, you can have a readiness check. You can ask them to indicate by any other way, maybe by using their whatever signs that are available on that platform. how ready they are for the lesson. And then ask them how they are. Before you begin lesson, ask them how they are. Maybe you can have announcements, you know, a time of announcements, a time of celebration. Whose birthday is it? Okay, what did you do? Or maybe you managed to bake a cake by yourself. Okay, so have that time of appreciation, the time of announcements, celebrations, so that they remember that, yes, no doubt we are not physically next to each other, but we are still bonding with each other. And then throughout your lesson, give chances for them to show their or share their appreciation with one another. Maybe somebody gives a good response. Give them chances to show appreciation. Just like in your physical classroom, the emotional environment of your virtual classroom is just as important. So maintain your human connection. Use your video as much as possible, because it's through the video that people can see your body language, your eye contact. I know sometimes everybody puts the video off and we just listen to each other's voices, which is good, because voices itself, there are inflections, your tones can rise and fall, can express a lot of things. But have your video as well, so people can actually see each other during your virtual classroom where possible. Okay, so your starters, maybe you need to be a bit more creative this time. So here is where your innovative, creative streak of your innate teacher comes through. You really got to think about ways that you can get everybody involved and be active. You can have group work depending on whatever platform that you are choosing. You can still have group work, maybe breakout rooms. They go into their breakout rooms, their groups, collaborate, cooperate, do whatever activity they have to do, come back and share. Take breaks. Take breaks. You know, you can, after some time, maybe after 20 minutes, okay, give them a 5-minute break. Everybody goes off, you know, chills out, and then comes back after 5 minutes. And share out. Be flexible. Be flexible. It doesn't mean, oh, I have prepared this lesson, this is it, and I can't change it. No, be flexible. Be compassionate. Be comfortable. I read somewhere you need to be comfortable even with being uncomfortable. You figure that out, yeah? So infuse your lessons with warmth, with yourself, with your personality. The human factor is very important. It's the most important, I would say. And put yourself in their shoes. Remember where they are. They're listening to you. Also in an enclosed environment. They are isolated from their friends. They can't reach out and tell their friend, hey, teacher said this, teacher said that, or ask or borrow an eraser. They can't do all that. So remember where they are. Put yourself in their shoes. You know, that motivation factor that is present in physical classroom may not necessarily be there. So put yourself in their shoes. Think from where they are. And make sure that your classroom is a non-threatening place. It's non-threatening, and it's a place that students will look forward to coming. Hey, tomorrow I have a class with Puan so and so. It's at what time? I've got to log on. You know, a place where they really want to come and really want to be part of your lesson. So always remember this, that you are human and you are real. Even if your platform is virtual, you remain real. Thank you very much for listening.